Imagine entering a room where hundreds of people are speaking at once. Everyone wants your attention, right? Everyone believes they are the most important person there. But your mind, it does something absolutely remarkable. It doesn't hear everything equally. It chooses, it weighs, it focuses. And perhaps that simple human ability is actually one of the greatest secrets behind modern artificial intelligence. Today, we're embarking on a cinematic journey into attention and transformer thinking by Ravindra Nayak. We aren't going to look at terrifying formulas here. We're going to look at meaning and exactly how machines are learning to find it. Just think about that for a second. In any given moment, the human mind miraculously sifts through a mountain of visual, auditory, and emotional noise. It chooses what matters, weighs its importance, and focuses the beam of our consciousness directly onto it. Without this ability, we'd be completely paralyzed by the sheer volume of the world. Well, AI faced this exact same paralysis. As machines were fed more and more data, they literally began to drown in it. Part 1. The crowded room. Why attention is needed when many signals compete. So think of a massive AI model that has just read an entire library of text. Everything is stored, everything seems connected, but we simply cannot focus on all of it simultaneously. A word or an idea sitting alone in a database is kind of useless if the system doesn't know what to care about in the present moment. Attention kicks in exactly when relevance becomes dependent on context. But how does a system actually choose? When faced with absolute information overload, how do we, or a machine for that matter, decide which faint signal in the background holds the key to understanding a complex sentence or a massive data set? Well, it really comes down to selective combination. You see, wisdom isn't just hearing all voices equally. If you listen to everything at the exact same volume, you hear nothing but static. Wisdom is hearing proportionately. It's about combining the available signals based entirely on what the current context actually demands. Part 2. The highlighting pencil. Focus as selection without deleting the rest. Picture a reader holding a bright golden highlighter. The absolutely crucial point here is that attention is not deletion, it's emphasis. When you highlight an important sentence in a book, the rest of the page doesn't just suddenly vanish, right? The unhighlighted information remains completely available. It just sort of softens into the background. Its influence changes based on what's relevant to you right now. Imagine 3 people standing in a courtyard trying to explain why a nearby well has overflowed. One speaks of the previous night's heavy rain, another mentions the heavy footfalls of a festival crowd, and a third points to a broken measuring stick from last year. Now, all 3 voices are present, and they're all valid, but we naturally assign a much higher weight to the rain because it best explains the current situation. We are weighting voices, and this is precisely what an AI does. It assigns a mathematical weight to different pieces of information, giving stronger influence to the data that matters most in that exact second. Part 3. The 3 quiet questions. Demystifying Q, K, and V. Okay, let's dive into this. We do not need to fear the letters Q, K, and V. They aren't cold, robotic formulas at all. Think of these pieces of information as simply introducing themselves at a meeting. Step 1 is the query. A word stands up and asks, what am I looking for in this context? Step 2 is the key. The surrounding words hold up their hands and say, hey, here's what I offer, here's my matching signal. And step 3 is the value. If we match, here is the actual information I'm going to carry forward to help you build meaning. It is just that elegant. Ask, match, carry. Let's just pause and let that definition sink in for a moment. Attention is a learned way of deciding which represented pieces should influence one another and how strongly in a given context. There's no magic trick hidden inside the machine here. It is a beautiful, structured first principles method of deciding who listens to whom in that crowded room. Part 4. The attention table. How relationships become scores and weights. To really grasp this, let's visualize this web of relationships. How exactly do we map the influence of words upon each other so that a computer can actually process it? Well, picture the words of a sentence running across the top and down the side of a grid. Every word glances at every other word across this table, forming these invisible arcs of influence. So, if the sentence is, the animal did not cross the road because it was tired, that word it really needs context. The table calculates scores, creating a strong bond between it and animal and between it and tired. Attention literally makes these invisible human relationships computable. So as you can see, attention transforms relationships into influence. It's a wonderfully structured pattern of learned context.
It takes a static, boring dictionary definition of a word and breathes the reality of the surrounding sentence right into it. Part 5. The transformer block begins. The mirror, where tokens look back.
Now, you might be wondering, where does all this asking, matching, and waiting actually take place? Let's zoom out to the grand architecture of modern AI, the transformer. Deep inside the transformer is something called self-attention. Imagine a room completely filled with mirrors. Each word, or token, looks into these mirrors to see the reflections of every other word around it. The pieces are constantly updating themselves by looking at their surroundings. So a word is no longer just what it is. It becomes what it is when surrounded by the others. Meaning becomes entirely contextual.
But as we know, human language is incredibly layered, isn't it? One way of looking is just never enough. And this is exactly why transformers use something called multi-head attention. Imagine you're exploring a dark cavern. One lantern might beautifully illuminate the grammar of a sentence, but you need another lantern, another head to illuminate the emotional tone, and maybe yet another to catch a historical reference. Different heads see different relationships, all working in parallel to capture the absolute full richness of the landscape.
As we close the map on this journey today, we're left with a thought that fundamentally changes how we view not just artificial intelligence, but, well, ourselves. Intelligence is not remembering everything. It is learning where to pay attention. In a world completely overflowing with noise, data, and endless voices competing for your time, the greatest superpower you have isn't your capacity to store it all. It's your ability to choose what truly matters. So as you step back out into that crowded room of life today, where will you choose to point your lantern?